welcome back to Tony Northeastern. And as you see, we're just coming into the station. Right, so we're off the train and we're just going to have a look around. And the last thing we were doing was the clock tower, and I had some fantastic comments regarding the building of the roof around the clock tower, which I think was great, and I do enjoy the feedback from you guys. So, what we're going to be doing next, we're going to be looking at this roof here. Probably won't do a video of it because it's no different to putting this roof on. If there's any slight differences, I'll probably capture them on film. But other than that, this is just more of an update, really, of what's to come. I think most of you know what's coming next. We've still got a little bit of work left to do over here internally, which will probably be filmed. And once that's done, then we got the canopy which goes across here. Now, before the canopy goes on, I'm going to have to put all the signage and advertising billboards and all the little minor details on these walls around here. Signs, station master signs, that sort of thing. Advertising bollards on here, or advertising boards on here, sorry. And other little bits and pieces like that. There's a water fountain that's got to be made to go on this wall here, and then we can then start thinking about the canopy. And once that's on, with the ironwork, obviously there's ironwork that's got to come across here, it sits on these cobblestones. Then we move on to platform 2, where there's buildings to go here on platform 2 as well. And yeah, so there's plenty here, and there's a signal box that goes over there, and you got the water tower which goes over there, and I like to fit in the weighbridge, that weird looking building I found in the research of the station. So yeah, that's got to be done as well. So there's months and months of videos to come, which I'm sure some of you are really glad to hear, or most of you are glad to hear. Anyway, the grand opening will be happening soon. Once all the roofs are on the main buildings, I think I'll start bringing some trains in, even though it's right. I'd just like to show you this little parcel that came through the door today. I had a message off of Nick Forts saying he'd like to donate some little bits and pieces to my railway. And I said, yeah, sure. And I sent him some bits and pieces back in return. And what he has sent me, this little tiny telephone, which he has made himself. Remember a few videos back I did make a telephone, and I think it was on that video, if I'm right in saying, that he saw what I did, and he said, oh, I've got some of those as well that he had made. And So he sent me these, which I am over the moon about. So I've got a couple of telephones, a set of scales with a balance weight on, and this lovely delicate seagull, which I'm going to hang on the layout somewhere. I've got to have a go at making some of these seagulls. I think he's made that out of plastic card. So let's just have a closer look at some of these items. So here is the seagull. And of the telephone, ever so delicate, and the scales. Right, so I just thought I'd show you that, and thank you again, Nick. It's very much appreciated and a very nice gesture. And as you can see, I have placed one into the Lost and Found office. Couldn't quite get one into the parcels office. I'll show you why. I just can't see the desk to put it on, because I've already glued half the roof on. But there's a table over there. I suppose I could put it onto there. Yeah. Okay, right. So, while we're on the subject of roofs, as you can see, I have put half of this long roof in, and I've put some extra stiffeners in, especially for this apex here, and this apex here was a little bit, well, it was just, well, it wasn't solid. So I thought it best to stiffen them two up before I put the roofs in. Right, I'm having a little break from the roofing at the moment because it's a bit too windy, and I've nearly come off the ladder once already. So what I've decided to do is paint up these Pico station name signs. I've already painted them matte black. Now then, what I want to do is highlight the lettering without spoiling the background on the boards, if that makes sense. So what I've come up with is you dip the cotton bud into the paint, roll the paint around on a bit of a tissue, so you just get enough on the cotton bud, and then what you do then is you just roll it onto the lettering you want. So let's just say I'm going to start with a station master here. So I'm just going to roll it in just enough so the station master is highlighted, like so. And what I'll do then is, once it's dry, I'll just go around the outside with some maroon red, and then that's a job done. Just a little tip. We're going to look into doing some shelving for the left luggage room. Now I've got a couple examples here of some double gauge scale suitcases and trunks. So I've got a couple of strips of card, using 1mm thick by 10mm deep, 10mm wide, and one piece here that's 2mm by 1mm, and two pieces here at 8mm by 1mm card. So I'm going to have to quickly draw up a sketch and then get back to you. Right, I have a rough sketch, 45 25 millimeters across and 30 millimeters high. I don't think the shelves are going to be that high, otherwise old matey here might not be able to reach the top shelf. Yep, so I'm going for that. So I've measured inside the room, allowing for the widths of these shelves, so that's quite feasible. So I'm making two sets of shelves, one for the larger suitcases and one for the smaller suitcases. That's why we've got two different thicknesses or widths of card. I've got my kit together, 4 shelves, 2 sides, and just gotta glue them together. Alright, as you can see, I'm just leaving a little gap there. That's for the 2mm card. So I'll just cut a couple of bits of this 2mm, which I'll run underneath. Right, so I'll get the suitcase and just chuck that in there and work out where the next one's going to go. Just above the height of it, I think. Take that out. Right, do the same again. And then we've got a slightly smaller shelf at the top. Right, so that's the first one made. It's still a little bit delicate, so I'll just let that dry. When that dries, I shall put a cornice around the top just to finish it off. Right, that's the first one completed. As you can see, I've put a top on it, and it's chamfered. How I did it was, it's quite simple really. You get your rule and you hold it back from the edge where you want the chamfer by about 3 millimeters, and then you just run the blade at an angle to the edge of the card and then just run it across. Use the other one sharper. As you can see, it just cuts a nice chamfer on there, and then just turn it the other way, the same again, about 3 millimeters from the edge of the rule at an angle, and just take it off. And that's what gives you the chamfer on the corners. So that's my 2 shelves completed. All I've got to do now is just paint them up and stick them inside the room. As you can see, I have now placed the shelves into the room, one either side of the room, and so that virtually finishes that off. If you look into the room next door, I've added a chair, and some guy there is probably waiting for his luggage. So yeah, that's that done. There's only one room left to do now, and that's this one. Here we have a kit to make a Gents urinal. You need a little bit of copper wire. You need a double thickness of 2mm card, 4mm thick. This is for the cistern, and then all the other sizes are self-explanatory on the card. So I'll just let you look at that for a few seconds before I start putting it together. Right, so you have all your pieces to make the urinals. Now, this is width here is only for 5 cubicles, if you like, 5 spaces. So if you want to make them any bigger than this, then you just add 8mm per person, if you like. Right, so the first thing I'm going to do is put the base together. So you glue this one onto this one, then that just leaves a little tiny channel for the waste to run. And just take the excess off. Right, so the next bit to do is to glue the upright onto there, and if you notice, you have a little channel. Make sure you're flush with the back edge and you're 90 degrees upright. Right, so the next bit is you glue the sides on. Making sure you're flush to the back and to the bottom. Making sure you're staying square. And just get a toothpick for the glue, just spread it along a little bit. Just check, make sure it's still square. Yep, still square. Hopefully that'll hold it square anyway. So then you put the other side on. Now then, your prescribed piece, if you mark up 20mm and then do these little squares, roughly about 1.5mm square, these little squares, and then you just stick that on the back. Just making sure you're flush with the base. And you're still square, because when this is finished it's going to be glued onto the wall of the Gents. Right, because I've got a partition wall as soon as you come into the gents, I'm just going to glue that onto the side. And because we've got windows here, I've made another partition wall to go this side as well. But what I think I've done, I've made a mistake. I'll take that off, glue this on, and I'll glue that one back on. Yeah, that's what I should have done. I should have done that. Never mind. And then glue this back on. So it goes on the inside. I should have done the same to here. I should have done the same with this one as well. Never mind. And then we glue this bit back in. Just pushed back in the corner. Right. Okay, so now we have the basic shape of your urinals. So now we've got to separate them into partitions. So that's where this comes in handy. So need to cut these up into 12mm segments. And I need 3 of these. It's 4, not 3. I made a slight mistake. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And just place these in. Pair of tweezers. So I'm just placing them in middle for diddle and about 8mm apart. And if they don't look quite right, you can always move them around while the glue's still wet. But you've got to be quick with this stuff. Right, you end up with something like that. So you've got your cubicles in place, so the next thing to do is to fit your cistern. But before we do that, we're going to need to make up a piece of copper wire to go run from here all the way through to there. But what I'll do is I'll make it up and leave the cistern off until it's finished painting. Once the paintwork's finished, then we can glue it in place. But before we do that, we need to make this up. So we're just going to fiddle around with it. Right, I've had a little bit of thought about the copper piping, and I think the only way I'm going to do this is to quickly solder two bits together. Just put a tiny bit of solder on there. Hopefully it won't come through to the front. Just like that, and then what I'll do is then the upright will be glued into the cistern, like so. Right, so I've measured it and I have cut the copper wire to represent the pipe work. It's just so it comes down over the urinal, so I'll just pop that in place so it gives you an idea where it's going to sit. So it's something like that. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to super glue that copper wire into the cistern, and then that'll be painted separately and then fitted once the urinals is painted as well. So that'll go in there. Like so. And that will just sit in there nicely. Let's hope I've got the height right. There you go, just like that. So I shall paint this up and we'll see what it looks like when it's done. Right, and there it is finished. I've just got to let it dry for a little bit and then it can go into the Gents, complete with sinks. As you can see, I have now fitted the LEDs for the Gents and the luggage room and lost property office, and it's coming along. Just got to add the roofs now to finish off. As you can see, I've progressed a little bit further. Now in the photographs there's a little vent, as you can see there, over the Gents. I don't know if that's to just to get some fresh air into the building, so I've made this a little piece up just to go over the top there. It's not quite finished yet. This is supposed to represent the lid flashing. I might have to cut a little V into it underneath there. But that looks just about right to what it is in the photograph. There is grooves in the panels here. I forgot to put them in. So I've just got to put some little finishing touches to that and then it's done. I've got to add some plastic strip to go on the top to create some ribs. So when I cover it with lead, you can actually see it coming through. Yeah. So I'll do that and then finish it off. Right, as you can see, I've got the main structure together of the air vent that goes over the Gents. The one thing left to do is to put the rod on the top. I've added the slopes I've just done a quick trial fit and it seems to fit okay. On the inside it's a bit of a mishmash where I've added little bits of paper to strengthen it up. There's still flex there, which is good because I want a little bit of flex there, so when it goes onto the roof it just sits in there snugly. I've got to, when I come to paint it, I've got to sort of paint lines into there rather than, because it's a bit late to score it now. I don't think I can score it. I should have thought about that, but never mind. Seems a waste to just bin it now. So right, so I'm going to put some rod on there. I've got some 0.8 rod to go down the edges, and then a couple of pieces in between just to highlight the fact that that is lead flashing on there, and this is lead as well, so that's going to be painted so you don't see the bricks. Okay, right, I have managed to figure out a way of putting these slots in to represent the vents just by sticking a pencil sharpener inside and then just scoring ever so gently with a pen just a couple of lines, just to highlight the fact that it is a vent. And it is a little bit tricky, but it does represent the fact that it is a vent now that I've scored it. So thank God for pencil sharpeners. So that's the air vent for the Gents finished. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to paint this up, and so I can glue this in position, because getting to some of this when it's on the roof will be a little bit difficult to paint up. So I'm going to start by painting these three panels with the slots in silver with a black framework, and then with lead roofing and lead flashing here. Then we can glue this on the roof. So as you can see, I've painted the grills in a silver. Now I'm just painting the rooftop in this brownish blackish paint. It's a matte colour. It's Humbrol enamel matte 98, and I quite like the look of this. It gives you like a nice texture, and I think it just as it's drying, I might just go over the top with a touch of silver to add a little speckle of lead in there. As you can see, it's still damp, so I'll wipe the brown off of this. Leave that on one side. Just take a little bit of silver and just blend it in here and there just to see what it looks like. Just add a few streaks. Yeah, quite like the colour of that. It's hard to pick up on the camera, but it's just lightening it a little bit, just adding a few silver streaks at the same time. And still remaining different from the silver underneath. Yeah, I think I quite like that. It's hard to pick up on the camera, but you can definitely see the silver streaks in there just to add a little bit. Yeah, I think I'll leave that as it is. And with the vent in place, that almost finishes the roofing. I've still got the lead flesh to do in the crevices here, and down in the gullies there. But yeah, that's a milestone reached. Obviously, still got to paint it yet. Got to paint the roof and the ridge tiles. And this will just need weathering. But yes, we're getting there. And we're just going to have a quick look on this side before we sign off. As you can see, we have the name boards in place, the ones I started painting earlier. So they're on, and it's changed the look of the station once again. Another little improvement. Right, we've come a long way this week, and I think that's all from me. So, see you again. Bye for now.